Hi everyone, we know that Desperado is good because it makes you rich, but its counterpart, Doppleganger, is really punishing for the corp when the corp is poor. I'll show you how that is done in this game, where I play my Goodnight Gabe with the new cards, Maker's Eye and Armitage Code Busting. The corp ices up both centrals, good for him. So what I do is to run on HQ immediately with a preemptively installed York, because I assume it's either a pop-up window or an Enigma, which would save me lots of time and money in both cases. So since he doesn't rest the piece of ice in front of HQ, I'm guessing that it is an Enigma. In which case, I proceed to whack his server twice, and both times I see a biotic label. So he installs a remote, and I immediately know that he has an agenda in there ready to score. He still doesn't rest the piece of ice in front of HQ, so it's definitely an Enigma. I get the Dirty Laundry credits, and I get to see his Chimera. So that's a problem. I need an AI breaker up. Meanwhile, I get my ferry out in case there's some sort of program crashing going on. Or any form of sentry, really. Flare could be pretty nasty once he gets the credits. I was expecting him to install one more piece of ice on the remote, followed by an agenda, because that is usually what you do when you install when you install a naked piece of ice on a remote with no assets inside. And sure enough, he not only does it, but also advances one token. So I definitely know that's an agenda. So I've spent my first 2 turns drawing up, and thankfully, I get my Corroder up. So with my 3rd turn, I can install the Corroder, and on my 4th turn, inside job for the market research. Another fear and loading card. That would only have been worth 2 points for him, but it gives me a 2-point swing in my favor instead, which is more important. So he installs another card inside the server. I'm out of inside jobs, so what I do is I install Doppleganger and run his HQ. This time he resists the piece of ice, and wow, it's an Enigma. Chimera, not an Enigma as I expected. Putting a Chimera over HQ, a single Chimera, against Gabe is one of the worst things you can do, because Gabe will always run your HQ, and it costs you 2 to maintain it every turn. So yeah, the only good thing Chimera is over HQ is for defending against account siphons. Next I ran R&D, and oh my gosh, it was a rotor turret. Had he installed the rotor turret on HQ instead, I would have been in deep trouble. My York would have disappeared. So I run R&D and get through it with ferry, because yes, thankfully I installed that ferry. And this time I use my Doppelganger to bounce over to the remote where I see his Sensen. I purposely saved the bounce for my last click, because once I force him to rest the rotor turret, I know that he can no longer rest any pieces of ice on the remote, so I'm able to attack it for free. Unfortunately, it was just a Sensen which I had no means to trash, so it's staying there. The next time I credit up, installed Sneakdoor Beta, and attempted to get through archives. I was hoping that what he would put on is a pop-up window, which actually I wouldn't have been able to get through. But anyway, I was hoping it was a porous piece of ice or a code gate. Oh yes, wait, I can get through a pop-up, yes. Yes, I was hoping it was a porous piece of ice, which would allow me to bounce through HQ and force the 2 credits out for Enigma once again, which would be very, very painful for him. Instead, it's a paper wall which cost me 1 to break with Corroder, so I go through, I look at his HQ, and it's a biotic label. It's the 3rd biotic label I've seen. Never mind, I bounce over to HQ, this time through the normal route because I can't do so through archives. Anyway, I want to force him to rest the Chimera, and gosh, it's another biotic. I've seen so many biotics, he definitely must have 2 of them in his hand. Either that or I'm very, very unlucky. So this biotic label costs 4 influence, so knowing that there's at least 2 of them, plus a rotor turret, he must have no influence for anything else. So I do not have to worry about any form of tech punishment except for close accounts. Next I drop, I saw an account siphon, I draw again, and I saw a knight. Wow. Alright, so now just with 2 draws, I instantly have my solution to the account siphon. And a solution to getting a lot of money and denying him a lot of credits, which is quite important because now he has a send out. He can easily astro into a send if he wants. Now, meanwhile, I spent one turn preparing, getting some credits by going through archives and bouncing over to HQ. He didn't rest the Chimera, and then I installed the Knight. Now, if you are a good core player and you see the Knight on the table, you should know that you need to ice up your HQ if it only has one piece of ice on it. If you don't, something bad is going to happen next turn. And sure enough, I knew it was a Chimera. I knew it only cost me 2 to break. So even if he rested it, I would still be able to get through. Now, the good play for him here would have been to rest the Sensen, but he didn't. If he rests the Sensen here, he would completely deny me of any siphoning whatsoever. I would not have gained any credits, and I wouldn't have been able to trash the Sensen that was rest. So that was a huge mistake on his part, and because of that, not only does he lose a lot of credits, I gain a lot. At this point, I only had 1 click left, and I wasn't really worried about tech punishment, so I continued sieging his server. And I used my last click to de-res the rotor turret because it was causing a lot of problems, even though it only cost 1 to res. It cost 4 to res. I'd rather use it on a toll booth, but now that he's so poor, I'm fine with it. And more importantly, it means that if he does not cred up to 4 credits next turn, I can run through R&D for free. Sure enough, he doesn't run. He spends 1 click to reinstall Ice over HQ, which means that I get free access to R&D. And that's 3 cards with Maker's Eye, one of which is an Astro Script. So all of a sudden, I'm on 6 points. Very, very commanding position. Meanwhile, he's down on 3 credits. All he can do is to click for credits. Oh, but he has a hedge fund. Alright, things get interesting. Now I don't have free access to R&D anymore because I have no sentry breakers. And I do not know what the other pieces of ice are. It could be dangerous if there's another rotor turret. So I get my Femme Fatale out and I target HQ because I know that Femme Fatale can break the rotor turret for 2. So that is the best choice to pressure HQ. Then I use my 3rd click to run through archives to force him to rest that piece of ice, make sure that he pays for it. But he doesn't, and I score a build to close the game. So, throughout the game, you see me abusing Doppleganger and Sneak Dot Beta to force him to rest ice that he really doesn't want to rest. And when he doesn't rest the ice, I gain a lot of momentum, I gain a lot of accesses, which means more agenda points for me. Sure he made a lot of mistakes the game, but it just goes to show that when you as a runner are in a commanding position with lots of credits from account siphon, and the corp is in a very weak position with very few credits and clicking for credits every turn, you can really abuse the power of Doppelganger by bouncing over to different servers each turn, forcing them to make a tough choice. Either they rest the ice on this server, which leaves them vulnerable in the other server, or they rest the ice in this, or they don't rest the ice and give Gabe a lot more momentum. It's a lose-lose situation for the corp, and this is why I think about Doppelganger. It works best when you're rich and the corp is poor, whereas Desperado is more widely used because in a more even matchup, the extra credits from Desperado every single run will accumulate on a and give you the edge that you need against the corp. So that's all I have. I hope you found this rather interesting, and please learn a lesson. Don't put Chimera as the only piece of ice on HQ against Gabe. That is a very, very bad idea. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.